Hello and welcome to this video, which has been prepared especially for the Hashcraft Meetup in Dublin on Wednesday, the 20th of February. My name is Gillian Gotts. I'm going to be there tomorrow night, but this video is made in advance with a very special guest, Bobby Bhatia, the CEO of TrakInvest. So Bobby, welcome to the video and thank you so much for appearing, because you're in Singapore and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that, tomorrow night when it's to be shown. So welcome to the video and to Hashcraft Meetup in Dublin.
Thank you, Gillian. Great to be here.
Brilliant. So first off, for the people here in Dublin, can you give me your resume and like an elevator pitch, who you are, what you are?
Sure. Listen, Gillian, as you know, we've been in touch for a long time and you've been close to the project for a while. Based in Singapore, headquartered in Singapore, my background has been in private equity and trading and investing with JP Morgan Partners, AIG, also worked in Chicago Board of Options Exchange. Basically, it was a 20 plus year career. When I left, I relocated to Singapore about 8 years ago, started investing in technology, started building technology with a real passion of trying to teach what I knew best, which was investing. So, we wanted to teach investing as a life skill. And obviously we constructed TrakInvest, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that. But really what it was is it's basically an online education platform that's now focusing on teaching investing skills, but also skills related to the blockchain, and also, as we'll talk about, Hashgraph and Hedera.
So TrakInvest is your project. It was launched over a year ago now. Is it? How long has the project been going? 2 years.
Well, no. TrakInvest was actually formed in 2014.
Oh,
we
wow.
launched our first version late 2014 and 15. We're focused on teaching and investing as a life skill. So TrakInvest is a stock market simulator where people can follow each other, right? And so if you see somebody who's doing well, somebody who has a great track record, you can follow them. The whole idea was, which was part of the idea around blockchain, is that my data is my data. So when people were actually sharing great ideas or trading ideas, or people were following them, we believe that people should get compensated for it. So, if you're a great trader, Gillian, and you're sharing your information and news with 500 people across the world, it's very difficult in the current system to make a micropayment to you of say $1, $3, or $5. And most of the kids and the individuals who were our customer base were in Asia. So especially it was difficult for them to say find jobs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But TrakInvest was really a virtual trading platform that was formed to give people the ability to. So once we actually reached a certain critical mass, when we actually got exposed to the blockchain technology, we decided to issue our token, which is what you were referring to, which was about a year ago, less than a year ago. And that token would then allow people to follow each other and actually compensate each other, for sharing their data, which they could observe and or replicate to improve their portfolio or make better investing decisions.
Cool. And part of the TrakInvest, you also have a TV program component. Can you just explain
That's right.
that?
So imagine this started off as a virtual trading platform, a simulator, which was online as also on this app. In order to popularize it, what we did was we created the TrakInvest show, which we created a digital channel called the TrakInvest show, and we created a TV show around it in India to start off with. We had almost 350,000 people who got engaged with the show. The basic premise was the top 6 people are on TV, who have the best portfolios. You could be playing from the comfort of your home. It doesn't cost the student anything. And as you beat any one of those individuals, they would get kicked off and you'd get to be on quote unquote TV, sharing your investment ideas, your investment strategies. What we did that was quite unique was, instead of giving out cash prizes or cell phones or, one of those kind of iPads, etc., we actually got 100 jobs sponsored. So 100 of the top performers, regardless of which university they were from, they could have been from a second, third tier university, got access to institutions and jobs where they otherwise may not have gotten access to. It was such a success in India that for season 2, we actually have 5,000 jobs sponsored. So we are now in discussions, and we've signed the initial MOU with Economic Times and ET Now, which is India's leading channel. Now, what we're trying to do, and what we've done in India successfully and in Singapore, we're trying to replicate that model in Thailand, in the Middle East, in Hong Kong, in China, in Vietnam. So as you can understand, each of the countries has their own complexities. As you deal with the exchange, you deal with the the colleges, where the individuals may be. You deal with the TV stations. So that's where we are right now.
And so that's obviously very high profile and very glitzy. But at your core, it's education. So tell me a bit, why is education so important to you?
Well, if we look around Asia, just to throw out some numbers for you, just to give you some sense, we have about 4.5 billion kind of young people. So our population tends to be very, very young, right? And by 2030, our disposable income is going to increase by 3 times. But what we are also observing here is that, as individuals are coming out of schools, and I'm sure like many other places, employment opportunities are becoming more difficult. So while you could always argue that, when industrialization happened, when the internet came in, jobs actually increased, and you're absolutely right, jobs actually increased, but jobs really increased at the super high end of the spectrum and super low end of the spectrum. What you're starting to see is a real gap in the middle range of the spectrum of people being able to find real job opportunities. There was always a question of information asymmetry in the equity markets, et cetera, right? You have something like China where you have 350 million brokerage accounts. You have some place like India that I would say estimate the total active brokerage accounts around 2 million. So, if we can actually teach practical skills that give people some sort of a practical way to make money, I think it's important, because that's the gap we're filling in with the university. So first and foremost was the idea of practical education.
Okay. I was going to say, and how did that then tie in with the blockchain?
Well, again, from the blockchain perspective, as we had set up investment labs at a number of universities. We have about 25 universities where TrakInvest is actually physically present. So as it tied in with the blockchain from our perspective was that if you are actually sharing your data, so this happens to be trading data, and it's your track record, and you're good at what you do, it gives you the opportunity to be exposed to the world, for people to actually tap into you and your ideas, and you get compensated for those ideas. So the blockchain and the issuance of the currency actually enabled that. The second piece was that as we went to the universities, what we realized that you had kids in computer science, right? I mean, you got millions of guys graduating, let's just say India, for example, in computer science, but they don't have the requisite skills, or the universities have not introduced the blockchain program, or some of the programs they've introduced are too high level, or if they had to go to the international market, it would be too expensive. So once again, what we did was we also created the blockchain course. So as a business, it allowed us to upsell. We were already working with the universities to sell a certification course around investing. We could actually then talk to the computer science department and start co-branding this course and offering it to them. That's really it. And actually, we've launched the blockchain course. And just so you know, we're also building out the Hashgraph course for both Hashgraph and Hedera.
And that's where I want to ask, because obviously this video is being prepared for the Hashcraft meetup. So tell me a bit about your involvement with Hashcraft. I think you work quite closely with them. Just tell me a feeling for people in Dublin who might want to hear your story on the Hashcraft element.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I was introduced to Hashgraph about 1.5 years ago. And, obviously we were at the time trying to look at and find what the best solution would be for us. Now, obviously there were other protocols there. In our evaluation, and also then getting to meet the different individuals, the senior individuals, we saw that this was by far the most robust distributed ledger technology out there. Had extremely high throughput times, et cetera, right? So, and in our opinion, it was also the best consensus algorithm that was out there. So what we felt was this, if we were going to actually go build on something, this should be the one protocol that we should be building on. Could we have actually reached our objectives working with some other protocols? Probably yes, right? But, we wanted to actually just start building on something that we could do long-term. The second great thing that Hashcraft has done is that it has an office in Singapore. So you have somebody who's the head of Asia, you have the head of business development, Edgar, Jason. You also have some couple of very strong developer advocates out for Asia. So once again, from a convenience and a business standpoint, I already felt very comfortable with the management. Of course, I felt very comfortable with the technology, but we also had access real time to individuals here. And they've been incredibly helpful. As I started working with them a little bit more, and as our discussions progressed, one of the things that became very clear to me which I saw as a business opportunity, which was that anytime a protocol gets propagated or new apps or decentralized applications come and build, one of the things you're going to have is the issue of talent, right? If we have so many people that need to execute so many projects on a specific on a specific protocol, we're going to need to have people, and those people need to know how to use this. Of course, we have worked with a number of different, I would say, development partners, like Launchbadge, for example, that actually help build, right, the special the SDKs that can actually make it easier for the developers. But we actually saw an opportunity to take good, smart Java developers or other strong developers and kind of upskill them into Hedera Hashgraph. So they need to understand Hashgraph, which would be the algorithm itself and what the core is, right? And Hedera being obviously the public part of the protocol, and swirls being the permission, and then understanding how Hedera is, but most importantly, understanding what the use cases could be and how to build on that. So again, augmenting very practical education. But we actually said, here's an opportunity for us to focus on the infrastructure side of it. So whether it's development, I bought a company, invested in a company called Leeway Hertz. We've set up a development center, Erling Tech, almost exclusively for Hashgraph projects. Some of the projects that we're doing, Hashgraph is very, Hedera management team is very good introducing us to similar projects so we can co-develop and share ideas. And of course, on the education side, if I can create a great pipeline of individuals who understand this or start working on this, and spend 3 months going through our program, whether it's in India or it's in Thailand, or it could be the Middle East, it could be China, Hong Kong, I think that's very powerful because we're creating a larger development base.
And I suppose it's handy too as well with the Launchbadge connection. They wrote all the SDKs for Hashcraft, so that you're working with a company that's jumping you ahead in the technology.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we have about 200 developers in India who are now being trained on this. Wow. Our team has already executed projects on various blockchain technologies, but also built a number of case studies on Hashgraph itself. So that gives us the ability, and that company is called Leeway Hertz. Our company here, the other company is called Erling Tech. And of course, we work very closely with Launchpad and obviously the community to make sure these things get executed.
When will you see the first use cases coming out? When will they be available?
Well, as you know, there were some delays on the Hashgraph side, right? But obviously the mainnet has come up and it's coming. So I think in the next 3 to 4 months, you're going to actually start seeing actual use cases being deployed. We're already working on these things, right? Yeah. So one of the cases that we're working on, I remember when we have education, and I mentioned we were going to give certificates when we give certifications. Yes. So we're putting our certifications on the blockchain. So, in India, it's so difficult to find, or in Asia, it's like, if I said, I went to the University of XYZ, for you to actually validate that I went to the University of XYZ becomes very difficult. So what we are approaching the universities where we have the relationship saying, hey, with all your diplomas, with all your certificates, with all your grading and marking sheets and et cetera, why don't we actually put it on the blockchain, right? And then the identity of the individual is confirmed. The person's records are attached to it, so it almost becomes like your educational wallet. The school can manage its alumni directory much better. And, so they've been very receptive. So the first thing that we're building on Hashgraph is exactly that. We're taking certifications and we're going to put your diplomas and your certificates on the Hashgraph, on the Hedera protocol.
Perfect. So tell me, just to conclude, where are you now? So we're February 20th, and where will you be in the future? So just a snapshot of now and your future ambitions.
So, Gillian, as I said, we were fortunate enough that we were actually running our business, since 2014. So, one of the key things is that, the mistakes that we made, we learned about were B2B or what some of the limitations were. But during that time, we have built very good relationships with corporates and universities. Our idea is to replicate, literally photocopy what we have been able to accomplish in Singapore and India in other countries, right? So that's the core piece of it. As far as what we had written in our white paper, we've actually executed 80% of what we were going to execute. In the next 4 months, we would have executed and put our certifications on the Hedera platform, right? So that's what we're working very hard on. There are certain other projects, so I can't speak about them because of confidentiality, that are working in other countries like Australia, New Zealand, China, who are very interested in what we're building, and they would partner with us. So the idea would be, as we build out our certifications product on Hedera, we would then, once we built it out, we would try to get more and more universities to have adoption, and also work with job sites and listing sites like LinkedIn, so people's certification could be automatically checked or validated.
That's so cool. So no more fake CVs.
No more fake CVs.
I mean, I'm laughing because this video has been made for Ireland. Everybody knows everybody in Ireland, but obviously when you get into a global community, it's hard to keep track of it. So very clever. Listen, thank you so much for your time, Bobby. I really appreciate it. We will see if we get to ring you or not tomorrow night. We'll figure it out. But anyway, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Jillian. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Bobby Bhatia from TrakInvest. Thank you.
Take care.